antitrust is all over the place, whether it's in the US or the EU, and the latest company to get in the EU crosshairs is Amazon. Amazon, who is a job creator, money maker for certain, and doing a lot for COVID. So, Daniel, what's your take on this?
Yeah, this is a big topic and a big piece of news. Over the last few months, we've heard more about the regulators dealing with the platform companies. Here in the US, there's been questions about Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple, all of which are under some level of scrutiny. But just recently, the crosshairs of Europe and their anti-competitive boss, Vestager. I forget her first name, and I apologize, but I remember her last name. And she has decided to file or start a probe into Amazon for basically two things. The first is the company's use of its competitive advantages to drive more revenue to its private label products. And the second has to do with the company's basically the way it does its search when you pick a product and providing supposed favoritism to those that use the full Amazon supply chain. Now, a little background on this, Amazon has its marketplace. And if you don't know, Amazon has spent over $18 billion this year in support of small business. It is a platform that basically with very little, unlike say an Apple, with very little requirements, enables small businesses to become sellers, which is a huge thing. And not to mention this year, the average $100,000 seller grew over 60% on the Amazon platform. So it's really been an enabler of business growth during what I would call a tumultuous year. But the EU anti-competitive forces over the last few years have sort of gone through a merry-go-round of putting the big tech in the crosshairs. We've seen it with Apple, we've seen it with Google, we've seen it with Qualcomm, we've seen it with Facebook. So it's almost like Amazon's turn again to be looked at. And so, Pat, I guess the getting away from the news and providing my analysis of what's going on here is that it seems that the EU is doing a fundraising activity again and looking at Amazon as a piggy bank. These claims to me seem a little bit premature and a little bit unreasonable. First of all, private label products from Amazon represent 1% of the company's business. Now, compare that to the likes of Walmart, Costco, and Target at 15, 20, and 33% respectively. Now, yes, the online presence of Amazon is bigger than any of those three, but in this case, you would have to really look at all those companies which have online presences as well. The second thing is Amazon, I believe, has a fundamental right to control the customer experience. Now, if you order dog food on Amazon and it's coming from a third-party seller, does the buyer really even know that easily? I mean, it's a pretty ubiquitous experience. Amazon absolutely does make it available to see it's a third party, but it's not obvious, right, Pat? And having said that, so Amazon is not even saying they do this where they lead with customers that potentially use their full platform of logistics services. But if I was Amazon, I'd say maybe that's smart, because if you want to deliver the best possible experience and you've invested all this money on a global supply chain, how disruptive is it to leave it in the hands of your third-party sellers to do their own supply chain? So I'm kind of looking at both ways saying, I don't know for a fact they do that. That's going to be up to Vestager to prove. But if they do they have the right to control the customer experience? So in both cases, Pat, I feel like this is a bit of an overreach, at least at this time. There's a lot of burden of proof to be met. And if the U.S. decides to follow suit and try to on the same probe, I think it's going to fail miserably here in the U.S. But Europe has a lower burden of proof to be able to get a fee and a fine. And so what I see happening is it's a fine coming Amazon's way, because that's what Europe does, whether or not Amazon actually has done anything truly wrong.
Yeah, just to put a little bit of I'm going to put a graphic up here. This was from my Forbes article talking about this same thing. And as you can see, this is a Sears and Roebuck catalog talking about how it created its own cameras. It also sold Kodak cameras as well. So this idea of third-party information and using it goes back pretty far. And, like you said, going up to the comparisons, check out this comparison right here. this is the percentage of products that are first party. And as you can see, Amazon does 15 times less than Walmart's that is at 15%. But Daniel, all good stuff here. I think, like the Qualcomm investigation, this is just about taxing U.S. tech companies.
And by the way, it's Marguerite. I just name totally slipped, but yes, I mean, right now it feels like it's a speed bump. It's a toll. The EU has definitely made a habit of this. I think in the end, Amazon will continue to defend itself because right now, again, not to say big companies don't do things wrong, Pat, but right now, what it's being accused of is just clearly not a anti-competitive overreach that I can see.